Psycho Serial Killers Who Found Love in Prison, Part 1.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
1. Charla Nash, chimpanzee attack. Travis the chimpanzee was born in 1995 and was raised by Sandy Harold. Travis was a brilliant chimp and could open doors using keys, drive a car, paint, and he even took baths with his owner. However, one day Travis broke. The beloved chimp had left his home when Charla Nash, a family friend of Sandy, tried to enclose the animal. At that very moment Travis attacked, tearing her to pieces. He ripped of her nose, hands, lips, and her eyelids. In order to save her family friend, Harold jabbed a knife into her chimp's back 3 times, but the powerful primate continued its attack. Harold said, "It was like stabbing my own son." As the police arrived, the cop finally shot Travis as he ripped off the door of the cruiser. Nash experienced a tremendous amount of surgeries and had a face transplant. To this day Nash is blind and is still recovering from the accident. Of themselves with the prolific murderer to use his corpse as a tourist attraction once he died. Starr denied the claims and hopes that Manson will one day marry her. "I love him," she told AP. 2. Isaiah Dickerson, gorilla attack. On May 28, 2016, a 3-year-old child climbed into a gorilla's enclosure at the Cincinnati Zoo. The adored 17-year-old gorilla named Harambe noticed the small child and dragged him across the compound. Panicking, a zoo worker shot and killed Harambe in horror for the boy's life. There was a controversy that swept across the world surrounding the choice to kill Harambe. Many people believe the gorilla was not intending to harm the boy, and that the zoo could have handled the situation without killing anyone. The debate of whether or not Harambe should have been killed still is argued about today. Thankfully, the child was saved with little damage, although we will never know what Harambe's intentions were, and if he was actually planning on harming the boy. Married in 1996. In 1997, Lioy told CNN, "He's kind. He's funny. He's charming. I just believe in him completely." In my opinion, there was far more evidence to convict O.J. Simpson, and we all know how that turned out. In hopes of delaying Ramirez's execution, Lioy threatened to commit suicide if he was put to death. The couple later separated, and in 2013 Ramirez died from complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma after being on death row for 23 years. 3. Dawn Brancheau, killer whale attack. At SeaWorld on February 25, 2010, one of the female trainers working that day slipped into a whale's tank, where she would fall to her doom. Dawn Brancheau was pulled underwater and was drowned by a 12,000-pound whale at noon that day. Immediately as the 40-year-old fell into the tank, she was grasped by her waist and was completely thrashed around. She fought with all she could, but the whale would not let her swim to the surface. Her death was witnessed by thousands of people in attendance as the audience was left in shock. Killer whales are usually not known as a threat to humans, but not in this case. Brancheau had worked with orcas at SeaWorld for 15 years, and became the only trainer working there to be killed by an orca. However, she was the third person killed by this particular whale, named Tilikum. God to the harem of women who wrote to him daily. Carol Ann Boone was dating Bundy before his first arrest, and was dedicated to her man as she smuggled cash to him to help him break out of jail in 1977. The divorced mother of 2 married Bundy in court during the penalty phase of his Florida trial in 1980. The 2 had a daughter in 1982, after bribing guards for some sexual alone time, but the couple later divorced in 1986. In 1989, Bundy was executed by electrocution at Florida State Prison. 4. Surinder Singh Bajwa, monkey attack. On October 21, 2007, Delhi Deputy Mayor Surinder Singh Bajwa passed away from head trauma. He had been attacked by monkeys at his home, causing him to stumble from the terrace of his house. Unfortunately, Bajwa was not able to catch himself as he fell to his death. Earlier that year, Bajwa was elected to the Municipal Corporation of Delhi in April. The monkeys attacked him at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, causing him to lose his balance and fall multiple stories. Bajwa was rushed to the hospital, but unluckily the doctors weren't able to save him as he died the next morning. Bajwa was attacked by a group of rhesus macaques, a species notorious for inhabiting areas close to human settlements. Although they are small in size, weighing about 17 pounds on average, they can be dangerous in large groups. While serving out his sentence, he met 23-year-old aspiring actress Veronica Compton. She initially took the stand in his trial and lied about the crimes in hopes of planting doubt with the jurors, but it didn't work. Bianchi later convinced Compton to lure a woman to a motel to murder her in the same style of he in Buono, hoping that police would think the hillside stranglers were still on the loose. Veronica did try to strangle a woman, but the plan completely failed, and she was arrested. Once she was apprehended, Bianchi didn't want anything to do with her, but she rebounded with Douglas Daniel Clark, who was responsible for decapitating 7 women. Bianchi bounced back as well, marrying Shirley Book in 1989. Their relationship was only through phone calls and letters until they met face-to-face for the first time on their wedding day. Fun fact, Book was first interested in Ted Bundy, but he wasn't attracted to her. 5. Roy Horn, tiger attack. Siegfried and Roy had a very successful circus gig going on in Vegas. These two had seemed to be changing the way people had previously performed in the circus by creating illusions with highly trained animals. In this case, they were using their albino tiger. During a live performance in 2003 at the Mirage Hotel and Casino, Horn was mauled by one of the tigers in his show. Roy suffered a direct bite to his neck which caused severe damage and had him hospitalized for months. He also suffered a stroke and partial paralysis due to the attack. Horn's doctors needed to remove a portion of his skull to save his life, and although he managed to survive the attack, this spelled the end of Siegfried and Roy as their show was cancelled forever. Sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in 1983. Mother of 3 and a supervisor at the California State Employment Development Department, Christine Kozeska married Buono while he was serving his sentence in 1986. The two met when she was visiting her husband in prison. In 2002, Buono died alone in his cell of an apparent heart attack. 6. Timothy Treadwell M.I. Huguenot, grisly attack. On October 5, 2003, Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend M.I. Huguenot were tragically killed by a grizzly bear. Before his death, Timothy had studied grizzly bears for 13 years. On this day, the couple had decided to visit Katmai National Park and Preserve on Kodiak Island. The duo's trip did not go as planned as they went missing from their camp. After they were noticed to have gone missing, a search was conducted. The 28-year-old bear who mauled the two to death was found to have contained clothing and human remains in his stomach. Known as the Grizzly Man, Treadwell dedicated his life to studying the animals, also founding a bear protection organization called Grizzly People. Treadwell suffered from drug and alcohol addiction earlier in his life, and attributed his love of bears for helping recover. Bianca and his wife Rosemary at gunpoint, while Watson tied them up. Watson stabbed the couple until they died, and carved war into the husband's stomach. He was sentenced to death in 1971, but it was later commuted to life in prison. In 1975, Watson claims he converted to Christianity and 4 years later married Kristen Jones Veach. They were able to become parents to 4 children through conjugal visits, which were later banned in 1996. In 2003, Veach divorced Watson after meeting and falling in love with someone else. 7. Steve Irwin, Stingray attack. On September 4, 2006, Steve Irwin and his cameraman Justin Lyons were filming a series called Ocean's Deadliest in Queensland, Australia. On that day the two came across an 8-foot-wide stingray. Irwin and Lyons decided to shoot some footage. Stingrays do not typically pose a danger as Irwin dived right in with it. Unexpectedly, the creature attacked. It began stabbing Irwin with its tail repeatedly. The crew placed Steve in an inflatable boat where they quickly realized that he was dying. Lyons performed CPR on Irwin, fighting to keep him alive. Unfortunately, they proclaimed him dead. The entire incident was filmed on camera, but Lyons has decided that the footage should never be released. His conviction was a carriage of injustice. Her relationship with her husband and 4 young daughters became strained, and she eventually left her family to be with Boland. They married over the phone in 1996, and Martinez remained by her husband's side until the very end, when he was executed in January of 2016 by lethal injection. 8. Alexandre Crispin, tiger attack. On February 5, 2013, a tiger mauled its trainer to death in a circus show in northern Mexico. The victim of the attack was a 35-year-old named Alexandre Crispin, who was an actor in the circus business. Prior to the show there was a picture taken of Crispin, shown to be playing with the tiger right before the show had started. Just as the tiger had been released from its crate, it lunged directly toward Alexandre, pulling him down to his death. The animal bit at and scratched Crispin as the terrified viewers watched on. 2 of the trainer's partners struck the tiger several times, trying to save their friend's life. Alex was immediately taken by an ambulance to a nearby hospital. Sadly, Crispin wasn't able to make it as he died that day. Crispin died as a result of hypovolemic shock, due to losing more than 20% of the blood in his body, or to die.